Shabbat Shalom. This week I met with one of the key organizers and representatives of Occupy Wall Street. It was a few hours after their eviction from Zuccotti Park that now appears permanent. A few of us, senior religious leaders in the city, spent roughly 30 minutes with the activist and we exchanged ideas and impressions. Whatever happened in New York during the past 2 months apparently is over. Whatever may come next is not so clear. Accordingly, I think it's a good time for us to gather ourselves and give a preliminary assessment. I might add some thoughts that you might not receive in the press. There are 3 brief points I'd like to make. First, the Occupy Wall Street movement forces us to think harder about social and economic inequality. The reason that this movement has caught on so rapidly, despite its apparent lack of focus and leadership, is that underneath it all, we sense a powerful critique of American society as it has captured a moment. There is growing economic inequality in our country. The evidence is everywhere, and it is beginning to distort who we are. The great American middle class, one of the secrets of American success, is being squeezed. We sense that something fundamental is changing our country for the worse. The idea of self-empowerment and upward mobility, that you can get ahead, go to college, get a job, advance beyond your parents' status, is the fuel that runs the American engine. I don't want my daughter to come back and live with us after college. It took us long enough to get used to the empty nest. Like we did. After college, she should go out and get a job and start her life. The American dream that I can do whatever I want to do, limited only by my own limitations, is what makes this country great. Alter this essentially American idea, and you have begun to change America in fundamental ways. I lived in England for 3 years during law school with its small middle class and stunted upward mobility. By and large, in England, the rich stay rich, the poor stay poor, and those in the middle rarely get beyond the middle unless they marry the prince. Your birth is your destiny. In America, it was always the case that the most of the wealthy Americans did not start out wealthy. You could be a child of an immigrant, be offered up for adoption, grow up middle class, and one day become Steve Jobs. We've been compelled to think about growing income gaps and rising poverty rates. We sense a general unease that the country is in trouble. The political system's inability to balance revenue and government expenses and entitlements will sooner or later bankrupt the country. It seems that we have lost the ability to do big things and to fix big problems. We have lost political and fiscal discipline. There is cause for concern and reason for worry. 2, successful social movements require political demands and political leadership. I appreciate the position of some Occupy Wall Street activists who say that the point of the movement is not to raise political demands, but to keep the movement above politics. They also point out that by refraining from appointing leaders, their intention to practice unfettered democracy in the public square is magnified. Hence, there are not even official spokespersons for the movement. This, of course, is ludicrous. Everything in social life is political. Politics is the way we resolve disputes and advance agendas in our society. Human nature is political. There's politics everywhere. Come in and sit on a Stephen Wise board meeting, and you'll see for yourself. Now, to be fair to the Occupy Wall Street folks, they argue that the movement is only in its infancy. It's only 2 months old. The point up to now, they say, is to mobilize energy and support and to concentrate attention. Fair enough. But sooner or later, the movement's energy must be translated into concrete political agendas, and the energy will dissipate. And that means that sooner or later, a leader or a leadership team must emerge. Otherwise, the movement will be like a storm in the ocean with no center. It will spin out there and spin out there with no direction and no headwind, and eventually it will die out, or worse, spin into increased frustration, rage, and violence. 3, economic justice is a religious issue. Religion in America has always played a distinct role. Our task is to produce a healthier, more moral society by softening the rough edges of American capitalism and individualism. Alexis de Tocqueville recognized the risks of American materialism as early as the mid-19th century, and rightly pointed out that American religion buffers the American propensity towards excessive greed and self-absorption. Religion's role is to safeguard and preserve a moral society, not to let American individualism and materialism overwhelm collective responsibility. No one asked me about naming the movement. Had they asked, I would have voiced my displeasure about the fixation on Wall Street. No one asked me about slogans. Had they asked, I would have voiced my displeasure about the division between 1% and 99%. Wall Street is not the enemy. It is more a question of the fairness of the economic system. And to divide the world between 1% who have almost everything and 99% who have practically nothing is preposterous. It also unfairly stigmatizes many good people who are wealthy and have made their wealth honestly and are themselves humanitarians of the highest order. I've met many such people. There are some philanthropists who are so generous, so caring, so socially sensitive and concerned that they overwhelm you. I've had many meetings with many people and have come away awed and amazed. In many ways, they are the best of us. Judaism is not conflicted about money. We acknowledge the healthy appetites of human beings. We are commanded to take pleasure in the world and to delight in the beneficence of God's universe. The rabbis say that we will be called to account for every legitimate pleasure that we have denied ourselves. People should work hard and earn a good living. Moreover, our tradition emphasizes that many social problems can only be solved through affluence, through the accumulation of considerable financial resources. And the best way to do that is through capitalism. Jews are not attracted to poverty. Poverty is not a virtue. We do not take oaths of poverty. There is nothing inherently noble in poverty. A poor person is not necessarily honorable, and an honorable person is not necessarily poor. For the most part, Judaism considered poverty to be pointless suffering. We do not equate limited financial assets with an abundance of spiritual assets. A full spiritual life is not conditioned on an empty material life. Jews do not aspire to deprivation, nor do we feel guilty about financial success. Quite the contrary. We admire people who have become prosperous as a result of their own honest efforts. But Judaism is very clear. There are two inviolable conditions to the morality of wealth. First, that you have produced your wealth honestly. And second, you have moral and social responsibilities to others. We discharge some of these responsibilities through a fair taxation system, and other responsibilities are discharged through private charity. If you have money, you must give money away. The more you have, the more you must give. This is not a friendly suggestion. It is not gratuitous, innocuous advice. It's a commandment. The prerequisite to Judaism's emphasis on wealth generation and private property is that we take care of others who need it and support values and causes that improve the world. It's not only the right thing to do, it's in our self-interest. We are not islands entirely unto ourselves. Does anyone think, no matter how wealthy we are, that we can shut ourselves off from an angry, frustrated, and unjust society? What? That we can build fortresses that will protect us from the unruly streets? Maybe we can dig moats and fill them with alligators to prevent the masses from storming the citadels. If our society cannot help the many who are poor, it cannot save the few who are rich. Moreover, none of us, no matter how talented we are and how successful we have become, have made our wealth entirely on our own. We could not be who we are without others. Who builds the apartments we live in? Who grows our food? Who brings our heat to the door in the winter? Who brings water to our showers when we turn on the faucet? How much of what we have and what we make and what we earn can truly be credited to us? All of us stand on the shoulders of countless generations who have come before us. Practically everything we have was handed to us on a silver platter. The whole history of the world has come into our laps. And thus Judaism is crystal clear. You have collective responsibility. You must help others. The more you have, the more you must help. You know, every time I speak about this in our congregation, inevitably I hear rustling and stirring, and sometimes I receive written feedback. The rabbi's talking about money again. That's not his job. Listen up. There is no chance in me not talking about this. If you've made a lot, give a lot. It's my job to preach this message to you, even if some of you do not enjoy or appreciate hearing it, because it's my job not only to comfort the afflicted, but to afflict the comfortable. Economic justice is a central Jewish value. Charity is a central Jewish value. We don't even have a word for charity in Hebrew. The closest we have is tzedakah, which doesn't really mean charity at all. Tzedakah means justice. No choice. Obligated. Money is justice. Money is tikkun, repair. Money is social progress. Money is collective responsibility. Money is compassion. Money is dignity. Next week is Thanksgiving. It is the greatest of the American holidays. We focus on the bounty and the beauty of life. But let us also remember those who do not have what we have. There is a Jewish legend of a son walking with his father. The boy is distressed as they pass hungry beggars on the street. "This is terrible," the boy said to his father. "How can God allow this? Why doesn't God send help?" "God did send help," the father responded. "God has sent you." As we enjoy our Thanksgiving feasts next week, let us also remember that God has sent us as messengers of hope and as beacons of justice, compassion, and repair. Amen.